Hey, Jack, I don't mind just talking generically while folks are on the phone if they want to kind of hear what's happening with New Providence Community Pool. Nothing's set yet. They're having their inspection on Friday. Again, every community pool, every municipal and private pool all kind of got the green light at the same time. So their inspections is coming Friday. Conceptually, if they get through that, their protocols and processes will be approved by the Department of Health, and then the rollover to us. They are committed to us. They've been committed to us for the past 43 years. They've had lots of teams reach out, but they want to work with us first and foremost, which is obviously a great situation, a great long-standing relationship we have with them. They've offered us the upper and lower pools. We've determined and worked out rates for the usage of those, and we're still trying to determine the specific end time. Part of what they may do is offer opportunities for certain segments of the community, those in higher risk groups due to age or health, and providing opportunities in the morning time frame, which would mean that we'd have to be at 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock. But if we can push that a little bit later, we can start everything a little bit later. And we're still waiting for their actual guidelines on numbers in lanes and numbers in space. Peter and I will be heading over tomorrow to measure out some of the additional space. We've been constructing some additional lane lines and using some novel ways to kind of anchor those to the pool deck that fortunately a lot of other states are in the water, and we've seen what works and what doesn't work and what's challenging and what is not challenging. So we feel we're in a pretty good spot to understand what we can do. But our hope is that conceptually we could be in by the middle of next week. Of course, if for whatever reason they fail and they have to be re-inspected on Monday, that pushes a little further back. But I think we're going to get in before the community, and they're going to work with us in whatever capacity they can to support us. And I likewise reiterated that to Tim, that we're fully supportive of what they need. And if they need additional revenue and they can lease us a little more pool time in one of the two pools later in the day, we'll entertain that also if we can support them financially so both entities can get what we need out of that facility this summer. We're committed to do that. So that's where we are with New Providence. And we're getting that. We have our protocols built. We have our time slots built. I've not put them into Team Unify yet because I want to know the exact end time, at least for our phase 1 rollout. We'll have multiple phases, and there'll be a phase 1, 2, 3 conceptually for seniors and juniors, and a phase 1, 2, 3 for age group. And we may move to phase 2 with seniors before juniors. We may move to phase 2 with seniors and juniors before age group. But the first and primary and number one goal is going to be safety first. We want to make sure that our athletes, our families are safe, our participants are safe, our staff's safe, and we can navigate this new normal, whatever that is. I think everybody's excited to be getting back in the water, and we're looking forward to facing a new challenge. It's been a while. So
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're about 3 minutes in for everybody, and we're about 48 participants. Thank you all for jumping on. For most of this call, you can leave things muted. We will be doing what we usually do during our picnic, which is our annual meeting. But we're also going to be presenting some new concepts for Blue Streak Aquatic changes coming up. And then obviously questions and answers for Tristan. So I'm going to ask Tristan, you stay mic on for this. You and me are going to be a tag team together on this together. And hopefully get some more answers to you folks as far as where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're going to get through all this. So I'm going to give it another couple minutes because we're still building. And then we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully you guys are seeing the screen I'm sharing, and that's what we'll primarily be talking around tonight. Our agenda, some introductions, and some review as far as where we're at and what we're doing. We're going to have our annual vote of officers, of which at that time I'm going to ask Tristan Foreman, who technically is a board member, but also a parent and a part of BSA. So he's going to be introducing the slate of officers, and we'll be doing a Zoom poll for you to vote accordingly. And after that, we will be going into a presentation of where we're going for closing out the end of the swim year, primarily on what we call the dry side of things, which is going to be the Blue Streak, fees, volunteer hours, a lot of different questions that people have been waiting to hear what we're doing and how we're going to deal with it. We're going to be talking a little bit about what things we're expecting for the following swim year, and some pretty major changes in the back end of how we run things at Blue Streak and how Berkeley Aquatic runs, but how it's going to be the same Berkeley going forward. And I want to make sure we all stress that part and it's all clear. So getting started onto our next area, I'd like to introduce the Blue Streak board. And if you guys want to unmute real quick, we have on my top right corner, I have Wendy Barasonic, who's our secretary. I'm sorry, Vice President of Communications. Yes.
Email. Yeah. Hi, everyone.
We got Cindy Pavaca over there, taking her daughter's name on there. We have Jim O'Day, who's been a board member for several years now. We have Allison Nash, who's been running our meets for this past year spectacularly until our come to a complete stop several weeks ago. All right. We got Mary Beth Zawali on here.
Hi.
And how are you? And Jen Thomas does all of our fundraising. Her job is going to be very busy coming up. And Paula Rush here, who's our treasurer. And I don't think, did I miss anybody? I think we've got all of the board members involved. And then obviously Tristan Foreman, the head coach of Blue Streak or Berkeley Aquatic. I do believe we have several of the team leads on, folks that take care of our billing, folks that help run our meets, folks that do the hospitality and the various team side of things. And anybody wants to jump on and say hi, feel free at this moment. Otherwise, I will get into just our summary and some details as far as what's happened so far this year. So the fall and winter season of our swim year were a great year. We really had fine-tuned a lot of things. We had some great meets. We had a lot of great swims. Everything I felt in the fall and the winter went as good as it possibly could have gone. And it seems like it was literally years ago when we came to the end of swimming, as it would be in mid-March, actually the beginning of March, I guess it was, with the COVID situation. I just know that in particular that, through all of this, everybody was taken by surprise on COVID. Everybody was unaware of how long this was going to be, what kind of challenges it was going to bring. But again, credit to Blue Streak and credit to Berkeley Aquatic for stepping up, and Tristan coming up with your various different workout programs, the ongoing communication from all the coaches, and everybody kind of pitching in and doing what they could do through all that. Has been, I think, honestly, there's a lot of other organizations and groups that I have been involved in that wouldn't have survived something like this. And it's a credit that we're still here today and talking about how we're going to get back in the water. So just a brief overview so everybody understands the history of Blue Streak and Berkeley Aquatic Club is kind of apropos at this point, that you understand what we do and how we do it. So back in the late 70s, Blue Streak Aquatic was formed as a nonprofit 501c3. And our goal and what we've always done was to support the club, Berkeley Aquatic Club. And our roles of what we'd have done through all of these past 30, 40 years, 50 years, I guess, at this point, has been in doing what we can do to support the club and the athletes and the coaches, to do what we could do to support New Jersey swimming and all of its events, and to do what we can do to support swimming in general and any kind of aquatic areas. Historically, we have done everything from the billing side, or what we call the dry side of things. We've run the majority of our competitive meets and our dual meets are in the earlier days, and now into our full meet program over the last several years at our new facility. We have fundraised millions of dollars towards our various improvements to our old facility, as well as assisting and building the pool that we all know and love right now that we haven't seen in several months. So that point, or that pinnacle, I guess, is about to change a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about where that goes, but then a lot more as to there's going to be some structural changes, but there are also going to be things that are not going to change at all. And what's not going to change at all is the spirit and the future, where we want to go with swimming and what we do as Blue Streak and what the club of Berkeley Aquatic represents. So that being said, traditionally we would be having, it was probably a couple of weeks ago, we would be having our annual picnic. And at that picnic, we would have our vote of officers. So you received an email about a week ago for our slate of officers coming in for Blue Streak, and anybody that's a part of the club is automatically a member of Blue Streak Aquatic. And we have a vote that occurs each year at our picnic, where you at that time can vote in the officers as to who shall be running this club accordingly. So at this point, I'm going to have our slate of officers that we have for the 20 and 2021 swim year. And I'm going to hand it off to Tristan to read out the information associated with each one of these roles. And then I'll be launching a Zoom poll at the end of it for your vote. And we're going to ask everybody to put your vote in. You can say yes, you can say no, you can say abstain. And after that, we'll take that as our official vote for things. So Tristan, if you would read through the names and the roles for us.
I guess in New Jersey swimming, USA swimming, we use Robert's rules, so that's what I'm accustomed to. So first matter is to accept a motion to approve the slate as presented. Do I have a motion to that effect?
You can unmute for that.
I just need someone to say so moved.
So moved.
And a second. Anybody to say?
I second.
Thank you. So with that, I would like to read the annual slate presented here today. President, Jack Flood. Secretary, Cindy Profarca. Treasurer, Paula Rush. Vice President of Me, Allison Nash. Vice President of Fundraising, Jennifer Thomas. Vice President of Communications, Wendy Barasonic. Tryout Coordinator, Mary Beth Zawali. Board Member at Large, Jim O'Day. Scholarship Board Chairperson, Nancy King. Scholarship Board Member, Dennis Flynn. And Scholarship Board Member, Laura Cole. Are there any additional nominations from the floor? Are there any additional nominations from the floor? Please unmute yourself. Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. And so at this point, we're going to turn it over to the vote. All in favor typically would say aye, you will vote yes. Those opposed, nay, would vote no. And you have the option to abstain. Thank you.
Okay, we're at about 77, 78% of everybody. Appreciate it. We'll give it another 5 seconds and we'll close it. Okay, thank you so much. And we'll share those results so you all know. You all decided that you like the slate as it is, except for one person, which is okay. We accept that. And certainly anybody that abstained, I certainly understand that too. So thank you, Tristan, for going through that proper way of presenting it. Probably the best way I think we've done it in all the years I've been involved in the picnic and the various voting. So thank you for your feedback.
Yep.
So I'm going to move on to our next item. And this is a review of the end of this swim year. So as you all would expect, and I think the correct and right way to look at the end of the swim year is we are officially done with the swim year. We have done all that we can do as far as Blue Streak is concerned. We're not anticipating any meets between now and the end of the year. We're not going to have any volunteer opportunities that we're expecting. And in light of that change, as presented to the board for voting on this, we have come up with the following final side of things that we are presenting to you. All volunteer hours, any remaining hours, or any fees associated with those will all be waived. Any fundraising commitments and any fundraising balances at this time will also be waived. So we're waiving these requirements to equate the significant loss that is associated with Blue Streak Aquatic, and some the additional loss from the lack of meets. We are asking that anybody that feels that they should or could want to commit to any level of that or any kind of donation, that they consider an in-kind, on your own, tax-deductible donation towards the endowment or to our scholarship fund. And we're going to have an online link for that. And we would hope that you would all take an extra thought or anything towards this on there. Now, with this in mind and this in place, this will take care of any commitments through the end of this swim year. It is also with this that we're giving that we're expecting no credits or any changes to the fees associated that you've already paid at this time too. And any other items or questions or issues should be directed to any one of the board members and myself about any concerns or questions of that. But basically, we're wiping the slate clean. We think it's the fair and right way to go forward. So with that being said, we want to touch on some changes that are going to be coming up. And this is very detailed, and maybe this is based on some information that we know of right now, but things that we're expecting coming up in the next year we're not expecting really to be running any substantial meets in the beginning part of the rest of the calendar year, really is what it comes down to, and perhaps even into the spring of next year. So some of those potential changes that we expect for what we may be running is something along the lines of a dual meet. And Tristan has some concepts that we've kind of translated here for you for some ideas of things that we think are going to change. But please realize that none of this has been finalized. None of this is set in stone yet. This is our best guess at this time of what we think will happen in the fall. And I'm going to leave it to Tristan to kind of give any feedback of any changes since we came up with this list at this time that you may want to give any assurances or changes or thoughts about.
Jack, would you like me to speak a little bit more about the kind of the new Berkeley at this point, or just touch on the meeting?
I'd say we can talk about the new Berkeley and how that's going to change next, or we can get that the questions. You tell me, but I guess where do you see meets in the fall at this point? And I know it's difficult to say.
So that's really an unknown. USA Swimming, along with the rest of society, really expected that we'd be potentially rolling out of this current dynamic into a new normal with appropriate mitigating protocols and social distancing protocols in place. Different parts of the country have started to open up to differing degrees. The great news is certainly within New Jersey, effective Monday, open outdoor pools are in a position they potentially can open. We're still in the absence of access to developmental water, specifically indoor water, but that's an effort that's been orchestrated at kind of the 30,000 foot level from New Jersey Swimming. Myself as the general chair, along with Jamie Platt from LaSalle, who covers the bottom portion of New Jersey. So we're really looking to get into water. USA Swimming initially thought we would, at this point, at some point in May, they had a moratorium on competitive swimming for the month of May that was extended into the month of June, really trying to create an equal playing field, whereas some folks may be able to get in the water to some degree in some states, giving everybody an opportunity to kind of start moving down that path. We're at a point now where there are only 4 or 5 states that are really have zero access, and we're still one that has zero access as of today, but that's going to change. Other LSCs are going to have the opportunity to start sanctioning some meets in the month of July. Those details have not yet been clarified, but quite often and quite honestly, they're going to be more virtual in nature, permitting a team to run a meet at the same time as 6 other teams, either within the LSC, within the state, or across the country, and merging those results, bringing a little bit of that competitive experience back to the sport. Whereas I love going to practice every day, and that's what I really enjoy. I'm pretty confident most of my athletes like going to swim meets. So we do need to find a way to reintegrate the competitive aspect. But that's really the last thought right now for us. I can tell you a lot of the states that have been in the water for 6-7 weeks haven't even thought about competitive swimming yet. As coaches and as a sport, we're not overly concerned with the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-week break that we've taken here. We all fully know and understand that we're going to get back to where we need to get to. But as far as competitiveness within New Jersey, we certainly anticipate it to be very restrictive. It's going to be governed by the local Department of Health and the CDC. And provided we follow those guidelines, USA Swimming will have its own established guidelines. If we follow all of those, we're able to get something called a sanction. The sanction allows us to run competition and maintain insurance and coverage for all of our participants, our officials, our coaches, our athletes in the water. So we're really looking towards the sport being a more contactless environment. So most likely in all cases, admissions disappearing. We're very fortunate at Berkeley. We do stream, we live stream a lot of our meets. Many teams do not, and that certainly provides a different opportunity of engagement for each and every one of our families. We don't see hospitality being a part of what we do or really what the sport does until there's really a broadly and widely available vaccine. Coaches will be arriving, athletes will be arriving in whatever degrees and numbers are deemed appropriate and safe, either by the facility, again, or the Department of Health, the local Department of Health, and USA Swimming, and folks will be leaving. So it'll be a different dynamic. With part and parcel of that, my responsibility as running the facility is ensuring that my staff are all trained, we re-onboard in an appropriate manner, and we understand the risks associated with COVID-19. We understand what PPE we need to wear, how we can protect ourselves. I can't in good faith expect this group who has supported our program for so many years to such a great degree to come on deck, different volunteers in different sessions, and have the anticipation that I can provide that same level of protection for each and every one of you. So in conjunction with Jack and some of our discussions, it really is our goal moving forwards that Berkeley Aquatic Club itself take on the majority of those on-deck meet responsibilities. We feel it's safer for us, it's safer for our athletes, it's safer for our volunteer base that has been in existence for 43 years, and safer for all concerned. So things will certainly look a little different. I can't stress enough how important the volunteer base has been to our program. If Jim were here, he'd be saying the same thing. If it wasn't for Blue Streak Aquatic Club, Berkeley Aquatic Club would not be the program it is today. We have thrived, we have flourished, we have grown to the tremendous program that we are because of our tremendous volunteerism. But that really does need to change. And part of that is due to the COVID situation. I'm going to touch on a little bit later, I think, Jack, kind of the changes in society. But there are some points on here which may have been factual 4 weeks ago. Some of this has certainly evolved, and I would imagine by the end of this meeting, a little more will have evolved. But what I can assure you is many other states are going to start rolling through this. The good news for us here in New Jersey, when our time comes, and it will come, we will be forewarned. We'll have learned from the other challenges, the ebbs and flows of understanding how to handle these situations, and we're going to be better served and better informed and in a better spot to provide the most optimal experience for our participants, primarily our athletes. Every decision we make at Berkeley, before we make it, and when we finally make the decision, the last question we ask ourselves, I ask myself, how does this benefit our athletes? and our athletes will continue to be the center point for each and every decision that we make here. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jack.
Thank you, Tristan. And that's the best we can say at this point. I think Tristan and Peter and all of the coaches at Berkeley have been scratching their heads, reaching out. I mean, Tristan, how many of these Zoom calls are you on with various different organizations around the United States or even some cases the world about how they're dealing with it, what's the best way to go forward, and how we adapt our environment and our facility to be able to make this work? And I've actually was over there for the first time in a long time. It was very weird. It was like going back to my high school. The amount of cleanliness that's in there, not that it wasn't a clean place originally, but it's another level of clean now there that, you just felt, like Lysol's all over you type of thing when you walked in. So in any case, let me move on with a few of our other points that I'd like to make and some other changes that we have coming up. So as some of you may know, Blue Streak has different components that we do as far as the dry side. And one of our agreements is that every year we have an agreement with Berkeley Aquatic Club that defines rent. And our rent revenues, the way we pay rent to Tristan and to Berkeley Aquatic Club, comes primarily from operating meets. And being that we lost what equates to about 25% to 30% of our meet revenue in this swim year, we are not in a financial situation to be able to go into the beginning part of next year and be able to pay that rent. So Tristan, for seeing this and understanding the situation there, presented these concepts to us that we, over the past month, a really solid month, 6 weeks, Tristan, we've been kind of pouring through this, coming up with what we think is the right thing to do. And these are some substantial changes in what we're going to be doing going forward. So as Tristan mentioned earlier, the one major change that's going to be coming up is Blue Streak Aquatic will not be running the meets for Berkeley Aquatic going forward. They will be done by Berkeley Aquatic with a team that Tristan's going to pull in place, along with a lot of help of volunteers that are already doing a lot of this stuff and streamlining that entire process. So they're going to be coordinating the entries, they're going to be collecting any of the fees, and they're going to be running all of that with the assistance of our key members of BSA right now in transitioning over to this BAC staff and or maybe some ongoing opportunities for people that take that volunteer role going forward. So that's a big change. And I know a lot of folks that have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in what they do, myself included, but also a lot of people that I see on this call. We strive to make the best meets we can for the most opportunities for our swimmers. But at the same time, it's just not financially viable for us to be able to commit to Tristan and to Berkeley any kind of a rent number without this meet revenue coming through. So this was the first major change. The next major change that's going to come out of this is billing. So the dry side of things that we do, that we're looking at, of the billing associated with it and the volunteers that go involved with the Team Unify, everything else is going to be in a lot of ways streamlined and automated, and it's going to come back over to the full control of Berkeley Aquatic Club. And part of this that also comes out of this is with the elimination of the meets and the elimination of our back office operations that we do on the dry side of it. We have decided that we are no longer going to have a volunteer requirement that's associated with the club. So that means that we're not counting hours, we're not billing for hours, we're not making it a mandatory part of the organization. Now, I want to stress something there. That does not mean that volunteerism in general is going anywhere different anytime soon. We're still going to need everybody to be involved to a different level. We're still going to need officials. We're still going to need people that are going to time. We're still going to need people to help out with the Omega and for things like that. We're not going to have as many of these opportunities as we had in the past, but we definitely are still looking for that same level of folks pitching in and making it the best that we possibly can. But we're going to be doing it under the guise and under the management of Berkeley. So in addition, and in the concession associated with this, BSA is not going to be responsible for paying any rent. And we are going to switch BSA over to more of the role of what is considered to be a booster club. And we're going to be looking at a club-wide fundraising commitment that we're going to want to do as groups. We're going to look at a number of other areas, but it's going to be what we traditionally referred to as the non-committed fundraising side of things. And some of those things are going to get transferred over to Tristan, and he is evaluating and coming up with how some of that might be turned into parts of Berkeley Aquatic Club and how he's going to deal with some of these situations too in the fees that he'll be charging each one of the members of the club going forward. But our role is going to get into scholarship. Our role is going to get into providing a budget idea and doing a lot more of the fundraising in the true sense of fundraising and using that to help support the club wherever we can. We're just not going to be doing the back end operations as we have. So Tristan, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit around this, especially around the volunteerism side of it.
Oh.
And then maybe some other thoughts on there too, Tristan.
Oh. So I'm just going to run through my bullet points, which I shared with the board. Again, I want to stress our future, we're going to have the same program. We're going to have the same mission. We're going to have the same vision. It's just going to be a new Berkeley experience. Required volunteerism is no more. I can't stress how important it is that we need volunteerism. But the difference is, I want to earn your volunteerism. I want you to appreciate everything we do for your kids and your family. And I want you to want to give to our organization to make it even better. So we are going to strive to earn your volunteerism. I think society is changing. And I look at my own kids and I look at the level to which they are going to want to be involved and spend inordinate numbers of hours supporting an organization such as this. And whereas it's 2020, I have to plan for 2050. I was very fortunate that I took over from Jim and from the philosophy and the culture that's been created in this organization, in the partnership and collaboration between Blue Streak Aquatic and Berkeley Aquatic Club. And I said earlier, we couldn't have done what we have done without the support of our parent group. I personally couldn't have done what I have done since September 30th, 2018, when Jim had his stroke. I needed Blue Streak, and I can't stress enough how much Blue Streak came through and put Berkeley and myself in a position and empowered us not only to continue, but to build for the future. So we are looking for a new future. Jack spoke about it. No more required volunteerism. I think that's critical. You guys have gotten us to where we are. Together, we're going to move forward, but we're going to carry more of that burden and more of that weight on our shoulders. You guys have been integral in getting us from 2018 to 2020. And this COVID situation has really provided every sector of society a different opportunity. We have a whiteboard. We have a clean slate. So we are looking forward to developing a new process that we can all build around and rally around for the future. So we spoke a little bit about program fees. I don't yet know what the program fees are going to be in the fall. It would be completely unfair of me to tell you today what I think they're going to be. We're not even back in our indoor facility. We fully anticipate being back in that indoor facility, but I want to be fair to each and every one of you that have stood by us for so very long, in a lot of cases, for many, many years, and multiple athletes, and some of our newer and more recent additions, your support and ongoing understanding during this time. Typically, we would have asked for a deposit maybe in May or early June. I don't know when we're going to ask for our deposit for our program, but it will come when I feel it's the appropriate time to ask you guys to put your hands back in your pockets again for our program. But we are committed to developing and continuing to provide programming for each and every one of your children. So program fees will continue. Part of what we've been able to accomplish over the years, we started something called required fundraising. We're all aware of what it is. I think it's $625 if you have a senior or a junior, and I get there through food coupons. My kids eat their way. I have 4 kids. We eat our way through that fundraising every year. And for many years, I did it on diapers and formula. But I have a 16 and 17-year-old, and my 17-year-old eats like a horse. So there's no issue there for me. We're going to get rid of the required fundraising. But what the required fundraising did, it created a membership, a family membership fee. It essentially created a discount. So myself with 3 kids in the program, I would pay my required fundraising and then my program fees, but I wouldn't have to pay that required fundraising on 2 other children. We're looking at a way by which we can get that accomplished. I have a call again with Team Unify in the morning. There are a number of options out there, including a member charge, where we charge you that amount to be a part of our program. We still continue to charge our program fees. Another option may be that we go down the path that we kind of figure out what dollar amount all of those families bring in, equate that, balance that out through the program, and then offer discounts for subsequent members. But either way, we are looking to create a path, whereas if you have more than 1 child in the program, you are essentially recognized for having more than 1 child in the program. One of my dreams in this whole process is to create a way that we can pay it forward. And what I mean by that is, for 2020-21, we would charge that required fundraising as now a membership fee or part of our program fees. But my vision, and we have to figure out a way to get it done that is non-labor intensive, would be that a family, say the O'Day family that are on this call that have 2 children in our program, potentially a 3rd at some point, maybe the O'Days would have an opportunity through one specific fundraising opportunity each year that's ongoing, that they can raise money and at the end of the year have the option to apply that amount towards the subsequent year's program fees. So maybe Jim at the end of the year still raises his $625, and I take that money and apply that to his account for the 2021-22 year. So essentially, Jim can continue to do his fundraising. Further, conceptually, Jim could fundraise his entire program fees. I think in the current dynamic and environment with the COVID situation and the economic impact on some of our families, if we can create a mechanism by which families have the option to either pay that required fundraising as a membership fee and or fundraise any portion of their program fees for the subsequent year, that'd be a great give back to our families who've done so much for so long. So that's something we're still trying to figure out and work towards. As far as the program fees themselves, I do need to accommodate an account for that required fundraising, because that was always designed to be a part of your program fees. From our respect, we see that as program fees. It was just an opportunity for you not to necessarily have to pay it, but earn it through a mechanism or a process through which you have to buy food. You have to go to the supermarket. Now we have scripts. There are many different options out there, but we are working hard. I plan to speak with Angela Quanzo, who's been heavily involved and integrated in that process to understand the backside of that and how we can create a seamless process for each and every one of you. But we are committed to that. Blue Streaks volunteers will still be sought, as we said, for timers and officials, but all the other traditional meat roles are going to be absorbed by Berkeley Aquatic Club. When I say Berkeley, I'm not talking about my coaching staff of 15. Prior to COVID-19, I had 61 members of staff on our payroll. On Jim's birthday this year, I furloughed all but 3 because of the situation we were in. I had to make the decision as to whether or not to pay my staff or guarantee the sustainability and the longevity of the program itself. And I opted for the latter. And we were able to secure the PPP. We brought a couple of members of staff back to teach and coach online dryland. And we're now in a position where we're getting to re-onboard, and we feel we're in a stronger and better position than we've ever been. So we look forward to engaging everyone. Again, Jack touched on it. We still look for Blue Streak to be actively involved in fundraising, and more so pure fundraising, giving to our foundation. Our scholarship foundation promotes participation in Berkeley Aquatic Club, by eliminating financial, social, logistical barriers in accordance with the mission of Berkeley Aquatic Club to shape and strengthen character through the sport of swimming. Now, what that means is potentially this year we have many more families that need assistance because of the impact of the COVID-19 dynamic. And we want our foundation to be there for those families. We also want our foundation to be there for generations to come, underrepresented portions of our society that will have that opportunity to benefit from all that we can offer here. So again, we still need volunteerism. My plan is to earn that volunteerism and maintain that same culture within our organization. We have those t-shirts out there right now, and we had t-shirts similar to those a number of years ago, but BAC really is stronger together. We're stronger because of the fabric and the culture that's been created over the past 40 years between Blue Streak and Berkeley. It's just time that that dynamic shifts a little, and we as Berkeley Aquatic Club take on more of that responsibility. So I'm looking forward to partnering with all and each and every one of you, hopefully over the next 20 to 30 years, and your successes and the families that come, to really put us in a position not only to maintain the foundation that Jim and Blue Streak have created, but go ahead and build upon that and create the very best environment for each and every one of our participants. So I think that kind of covers some of it. I'll be open to questions at the end.
No, that's it. And I guess that what I'd like to pivot on this is that we are pivoting, guys. We're changing with the environment. We're changing with the challenge. We're changing with the need that's in place. This is collaborative. We are working with Tristan the same way that it's talking about, and we're all going to adapt a little bit to make this work. In some cases, it might be cheaper than it was for you in the past. In other areas, maybe it might be you're paying more money out where you couldn't volunteer. But this is all going to be something that we need to get the cards in the deck for Tristan to play together, as opposed to trying to keep some of these other mechanisms in place that at times maybe didn't work, and especially now with our non-ability to meet. Will we change this again down the road? I don't know. Is there a possibility we go back to the old way after we get back and Tristan needs this extra set of hands to be able to run meets and do things? We'll look at that next year and in future years. But I have a feeling that there's some of this stuff is going to be permanent going forward. And in some ways, it's going to make it a better Berkeley. It's going to make it a better swim club, and hopefully make it a little bit easier for all of our parents to be a part of this, and also give back in other ways that maybe didn't feel like I'm paying a fee for it. So, so that being said, obviously big changes. Volunteerism, again, is not mandatory, but again, it's still going to be a part of a lot of this. I just want to keep stressing that part as much as possible. And fundraising and that allotment, as granted, it's not going to be at a committed level. We want to be able to find a way to raise $150,000 a year through our fundraising activities going forward that we hand over to Tristan, that he can then use to offset that capital or that ongoing operational expense that he has that's going on. And we're interested in finding other ways of doing it. Now we have a little bit more opportunity to think outside the box in some of this stuff and do some of those things, and maybe even have some of the fun things that each one of the parties for each one of the groups used to do, that maybe was always well, we have time for this or time for that. Now we can look at some of that stuff and actually be able to explore and do things as parents a part of the club, as opposed to somewhat workers a part of the club. But that being said, I'm going to leave it open to questions real quick. Questions maybe to Tristan, if anybody would like to unmic real quick. And again, Tristan has some ideas and some plans that we fully support. But at the same time, there's a lot going through his head about how he wants to put this together, and I'm sure there's still some things he's still working out. So, if anybody would like to ask a question about the future of the fees of the club to Tristan, or where the club is going at this time that maybe he hasn't touched on, because he's touched on a lot, I'm going to let the floor be opened, as it would be, and open the mic. Just remember, you got to unmute. All right. Any questions as far as the changes to the club that you want to bring to the board members at this time, or any concerns that you have? And if you want to, send them as a note or a chat or something like that, we certainly can go that route. Usually I for these things, like one, we have a question here from Sophia.
Yep, I can answer that.
Yep.
I
What's going to happen to
answered
summer clinics?
that. So Graham and I are in constant dialogue. So the question was, what's happening with the summer clinics? Our goal is to be able to provide something. Certainly, if we have the opportunity to be in our indoor facility, there are many more avenues that open up to us as far as space and capability. Whereas we've typically closed down in the month of August in the past and given everybody time off, I really think a lot of our families are still going to take advantage of that. I think everybody's zoomed out. Everybody wants to get away. I'm not going on vacation. I'm going to provide opportunities for athletes that wish to be engaged throughout the month of August. I think we're going to have more pool time available to us consequently because of that as we roll into August. So if we are constrained to our outdoor pool, there may be an opportunity there. If we can get in the indoor pool, we'll have some additional opportunities for the clinics. If the clinics can't go for whatever reason, we'd offer what we essentially offer to our swim school students. We'd offer a full refund. We'd offer the opportunity for you to make a contribution to the program if you're in a position to do so. We'd offer for you to leave the money and basically have a credit to do a clinic in 2021 of a similar nature, realizing the fee structure may adjust a year from now, but we'd honor that commitment. But we want to work with each and every one of you. It would have been completely unreasonable for myself, along with Jack and the board, to say, hey, everybody has to give me $300 in June if you're going to come back. We don't even know what the future holds. And that'd be completely irresponsible of me, given we've not had access to water. Whereas that's not necessarily my fault. I want to do the right thing by each and every one of you, and I'm committed to do that. So when the time comes, we'll make a decision. Feel free to continue to reach out to Graham on the clinics. He should be your first point of contact, but we're hopeful we can do something this spring, or I guess this summer now. That may not be the case, but we will do the right thing by each and every one of you that are committed to our program. And our first priority is to the athletes in this program. There are 390 of you that are in this program right now. And again, I want to do the right thing by each and every one of you. Every one of you has goals, whether you're an athlete trying to make Olympic trials or you're a 7-year-old athlete in our Take Your Mark program. Our goals are all important and they all carry equal weight in my eyes. Whereas certain athletes need differing opportunities as we certainly roll through this and start to reacclimate. Initially, our goal is to provide opportunities to everyone in this program. I feel very strongly about that. And it really is a sport for all, and we are a team. Sometimes people look at Berkeley as just our senior team. We are a team. Every single person in this program matters. Every athlete, every parent, every coach. So I know I got off topic a little bit there, but we'll do the right thing. And if you need to have a dialogue, please have it with Graham. He'll have it with me, and we'll do the right thing by you and your family. Yeah, we miss everybody too. I'm tired of looking at Peter Barry every day at the pool. There's only 2 people been in our pool, or 2 individuals been in our pool since March 10th, Peter and Jetty. Jetty fell in the pool about 3 weeks ago. I've had my suit on the back of my door and threatened to get in. I haven't been off my desk or off my computer in months. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the kids too.
And then maybe another point to that, and when Tristan does announce these fees and everything else, everyone realize we haven't publicized it as much as we should in the past, but we do have a substantial scholarship fund that's in place. We actually have a few more people that are going to be involved with that scholarship, and we want to promote it, and we want to make sure it's being used in any case. We maybe have looked at it a little bit more for folks that had a specific need or a specific area, but even folks that, you lost job for a little while, or you had this or you had that, we're going to ask that you reach out to them. We're going to have that scholarship at berkeleyaquaticlub.com. And, tell them your situation, and we want you to be a part of the club and stay a part of the club. And granted, it's open to anybody that joins the club, but it's even more there and now in this time of need for anybody that needs it, to reach out and confidentially ask those questions, and in a lot of those cases be able to provide a substantial amount of support to you to stay in the club. So,
and Jack, I think you hit on an important point there. It is confidential. I think many of us are very proud by nature and don't always want to ask for the help that we need. But we definitely have folks within our organization and within our family structure right now where there is a need. It is anonymous. No one will know if you've asked for help. No one will know if you receive help. Conceptually, I may be the only person, but that's where it'll end. There'll be a payment made to your program fees to whatever degree it is, and you'll be in good standing. So we're really trying to remove that barrier also. We want people to be able to reach out and feel comfortable asking for help. We're here for you.
And then usually during this time, after our announcements and everything else, we would have our seniors do their presentations. And I believe that they have opted to wait till Thanksgiving when they can do it all together, ideally on deck. Hopefully at that time, just to let everybody know, we're looking to get and organize some sort of a picnic or some kind of an event, probably around Thanksgiving is a safe bet at this time, when hopefully all of our seniors can get the accolades and the time to get together and, just be able to get up and say their piece. It's also, at this time typically that I have a short opportunity to get up and just say thank you to all of our volunteers. And in some of these cases, a lot of my volunteers are literally retiring from their jobs. And I hope they don't look at it as retirement. I hope they think that maybe I can go help out like in a part-time position as opposed to the full-time volunteer position you were in. But it's the reason why we're keeping the entire board structure the way it is this year. It's the reason why I've already reached out. We've already discussed a lot of this with all of our team leads, and that we're all going to be a part of this to some level in whatever this transition is. And, you're not quite off the hook yet, but I'm sure you're going to find a different way of doing things and help make Berkeley the way it is going forward. And to everybody for the hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteer service that you do, oftentimes unnoted, oftentimes when we're sitting in the control room at 8, 9 o'clock at night saying, what are we doing here still? Or all the other work that's done behind the back doors on the billing and the accounting and fundraising opportunities and everything else that we do in the past. Thank you. You made Berkeley what it is. You helped us get through. Not many other organizations like we did were able to pay rent through all of this and keep the thing going. And then also be able to transition into a new version of ourselves in order to sustain and move forward. So kudos to whoever thought this up years and years ago. I know Jim Wood was a part of it, but there were number of our predecessors that sat on the BSA board and have been very cognizant of this. And then also just realize on all of these parts and all these things, we've talked to many, many, many different people about this to make sure this was the right decision and this is the right way to go. I think Tristan feels and believes it's the right thing to do. I firmly believe it's the right thing to do. Every one of our board members feel it's the right thing to do. And almost every one of the past board members and past BSA presidents that I've talked to all feel this is the right thing to do and the right time to do it. So all I can say is I don't know what's going to happen in September. I don't know what's going to happen in December. But at some point, we will be back on deck watching the swim meet together. And we might not have the same role and we might not be doing the same thing, but we're all going to be there doing what we've done in the past. Hopefully not working as hard. Maybe it's a little easier, but we can enjoy it and know that we got through it. So,
Jack, can I just add 2 things?
Sure.
So I would say, first of all, just as an opportunity, many parents on the phone, some of you are a first-time parent of an older athlete, say a sophomore in high school or junior in high school thinking about college, or maybe your athlete's 10, 11, 12. As coaches, I am not concerned in the slightest that we have been out of the water for the last 12 weeks. I have ongoing discussions with other coaches, but more importantly, my athletes. Our kids have slept more. Our kids have been able to eat meals at more appropriate times of the day because they're not eating lunch at 10:30 at one school and then 1:30 at another school. they're getting better nutrition, they're emotionally in a better state. We've had athletes over the past who maybe have had a catastrophic lower leg injury, maybe skiing, and not being able to stay active, and got back into the water, got back up to speed, and gone on to have lifetime best swims within a year. There's no reason that can't happen, because right now we've stayed active, we've stayed healthy, we're in a really good spot. So I'm not concerned about that in the slightest. I actually think a lot of programs are going to look differently at how they do things. I think there's going to be a lot of programs that a year from now, I think most of our guys have probably grown 3 inches. That typically happens when we don't see them for 2 weeks. I think programs may look at doing things differently. I've challenged my seniors and juniors to come up with feedback. We may have situations where one night a week families don't come to the pool, but they have family dinners, because that's really important, that you get together with your family. It's been like going back to the 1970s in a lot of respects for a lot of us. We all get caught up in the rat race. We've had a chance to realize what's real important. And what's important is family. What's important are our kids' health and spending time with them. And from that respect, I think it's been a real eye-opener. And I try to look at every day as glass half full. So we're trying to incorporate some of that as we roll out of this also. And again, I just want to come back to this group on the call now. Every time we have run a meet since I've been at Berkeley, since 1995, coaches from other teams have always said, we have the best parent group in this nation. There isn't a parent group that comes close to what you do. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you volunteer 80 hours. That's a huge part of it. But it's the dedication. It's the commitment to the greater good. It's the commitment sometimes to put others ahead of yourself. And we talk about that with the athletes. I don't see that changing. The folks that have continued to volunteer will, and we're going to strive as hard as we can to get everybody on board. So thank you. I'm looking forward to the next 30 years, and it's going to be different, but it's going to be fun, and we're going to be outstanding.
I agree. Well, with that, I'm going to close it up. Thank you all. Stay safe. Stay home maybe, or maybe get out a little bit finally. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Just to let you all know, solid 50, 55 people throughout this whole thing. I appreciate you staying through all of it. I hope you got something out of it. Please reach out to Tristan. Let him know how much you appreciate him, because I appreciate him.
It's the staff. It's not me.
Reach out to your various board members for everything that we've been going through all this, trying to make this work. All the folks that have been dealing with billing and everything else. And you all get a vacation after this is what's going to happen. After we get through all this, you actually have some time off for yourself. And then we're going to put you back to work. So, but that being said, thank you all. Be safe, and we'll see you soon. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you all.
Good night.